What's going on YouTube? It's your boy Dylan back with another reaction, and it is currently 6 a.m. This is our fifth reaction tonight. But we're watching another how an F1 track was built, and today we have Miami by what was it? Everything Explained. Yeah, same guy as the last one. So let's just get straight into it.
Miami.
Actually, wait, I actually really want to do this one because how many times I've been to Miami, and I know exactly where this track is and like on the street layout. So I just want to see them take the street and turn it into tracks. All right,
Miami,
let's get straight to it.
famous for its beaches, nightlife, multicultural atmosphere, and its F1 races that take place in a parking
Yeah, I know
lot.
exactly where that is.
I'm not joking. This is the aerial shot of the Hard Rock Stadium where the Miami Grand Prix is held.
Yep.
And this is it in 2021. Turns 11, 12, and 13 were quite literally parking spaces. You may be thinking, building an F1 track in a car park must have made it easier, right? Well, from breaking ground to the first race, they had a timeline of just 12 months, which is hard enough. But in this time,
So
the
wait a
ground
minute.
was still hosting events like Miami Dolphin matches in the NFL, the Miami Open tennis tournament, concerts, and so much more. They had to phase the
So technically, if you go to Hard Rock, part of the track is just there. Is that what I'm
construction
hearing?
process to allow these events
Yeah. Well, this might be why they're doing the track, but no, this is literally.
to operate without disruption, but also have the track ready in time. And then there's the complexities of the fake marina, which went viral, largely because of videos like this. But creating it was actually harder than you may think. To understand how they built the Miami F1 track, we need to discuss the difficulties of the design process, how it was physically built in under a year, and finally, the changes they made after facing some pretty strong criticism.
All right, let's go. Talk me to him.
Located at the Hard Rock Stadium complex, the Miami International Autodrome is a temporary circuit designed to have a permanent feel. In 2018, Formula One laid out their plans to host a race in downtown Miami, with a debut planned for the 2019 season. However, after logistical and political challenges, the idea was postponed.
Why? Why y'all hating? Bro, if the FIA and Formula One wanted to be like, hey, let's do a race in New York City, because New York's a lot closer to Miami. Or to me than Miami. It's like I can drive to New York and I can get there. I could leave right now and be there before noon. But bro, I'd be like, let's do it. I'm so down for that. I'm going every year. Y'all was hating?
One of the key advocates of an F1 race in Miami was Stephen Ross, who also owns the Hard Rock Stadium.
My dog.
He
I like you,
commissioned
Steven.
UK-based Apex Circuit Design to lead the project, evaluating 75 potential layouts and simulating 36 of those.
75?
The site had many constraints such as minimal elevation gain, poor drainage infrastructure, and the biggest issue, the current facilities already in place to host other sporting and entertainment events. They eventually settled on the current 5.41 kilometer configuration. It features 19 corners with high-speed straights, 3 DRS zones, and has top speeds of 350 kilometers per hour.
It's one of these turns here. It's this. This little. Is it? Hold on, let me think. Starting here. Then down into turn one. Trying to think. It is here. It's this. This shit. If any of my sim racers know, anyone that's ever played F1, ever driven Miami, this little part right here in the rain sucks, bro. This in the rain is terrible. I hate
350 kilometers per hour. It's fair to say the racing wasn't too well received in its first year.
Who the fuck had a basketball on their head?
It's fair to say the racing wasn't too well received in its first year, but we'll come back to how they dealt with that later. There was still pushback from local residents for this track, but a deal was worked out which would see the city receive $5 million in funding over 10 years for residents and businesses. Formula One agreed, and the contract was finally signed and announced at Imola on April the 19th, 2021, with the track needing to be ready for its first race on May the 8th, 2022. Just quickly, my goal is to hit 100,000 subscribers, so if you're enjoying this content, I'd really appreciate it if you hit the subscribe button.
Wait.
But anyway.
How many you at? Said 100K?
As you can imagine.
What are you at? 84. I thought he was about to go into like an ad.
Construction had to begin immediately. So how did they do it?
Talk to me. How was it built?
Ground was broke in Miami in April 2021, with less than 12 months to turn the car park into a Formula One track. As I mentioned earlier, the whole process was phased so that the other sporting events went on as planned with no interruptions.
So what I'm hearing is part of the track is literally just
part of the parking lot is just the track. And aluminium, or aluminum for my Americans watching, 1.3 million bolts and 1,130 tons of concrete were used.
Hold on. Let's see something. Our stadium. Yeah. That's what I thought. Yeah. Literally just. So when I was on the highway. Hold on. This is confusing me here. The road is track. When do you know if a Google Images picture was taken? Is this a January 29th, 2024? It looks like the road is like. No, this is old. This had to have been during a race weekend. These are the grandstands. These are the stands. More here. I think these look like stands. Yeah. Or that might be. I don't know. I can't get a street view from being on track. All right, hold on. This might help us look at this better. These are from 2019. Before the track was even here. I'm gonna have to. I'm gonna have to call my dad and ask him. Because from the looks of it. How do I rotate this? From the looks of it. These are all tennis courts. This is the track. But I wonder what they were doing here. It's like a concert or some shit. That's what I was saying. Cause see, these are stands. These are the race stands. So I wouldn't think that this was like. I would think mostly the track is still here, right? Like you could go and drive, and the track is here. Because it also looks like you can literally. Because this is track, isn't it? Yeah, this is track. So the track literally. You come off the Florida Turnpike, bust that right, and you're on an F1 track. And you come all the way down. This shit does not feel that long in the game. Hit that turn. Come back this way. Or I might be looking at it backwards. No, I'm not. I'm looking at it the right way. Hold on, where's that one turn I was telling you all about? It's... Hold on. This. I think. Pretty sure it's this turn right here. Under... Yeah, it's under the bridge, because then you shoot all the way down. Alright, let's get back to the video. I'm sorry. I just wanted to see.
In total, 7 miles of concrete barriers and fencing were installed. Apex Circuit Design used an asset management tool called Apex Build to track each of these barriers as a separate asset. Their software allowed them to visually see if each item is in the correct place. This also makes the post-race pack-up much quicker. Some of the drivers, mainly Carlos Sainz and Esteban Ocon, were furious with some of the placements of these concrete barriers.
Oh, I thought they were about to say
high-impact crashes, which would have been softened by the use of Tech Pro barriers. The drainage infrastructure on site didn't meet the required safety levels. The land is mostly flat, and the stadium is only 1.5 meters above the Atlantic Ocean.
Why does it feel so off? Give me the highest frames possible.
So to deal with this, a company called ACO installed 18,000 linear feet of drainage system around the track in a 9-month period.
This might be a bad thing. This might be a bad thing. Let me turn this down some.
Formula One is the most technologically advanced sport in the world. Teams need access to tons of data instantly, whether that be telemetry, lap times, or weather forecasting systems. To cope with these demands, they installed an astronomical 56,782 miles of fiber and cabling. The road surface at the Miami International Autodrome is unique because it's made from a special mix of local lime rock and granite brought in by train from Georgia. Usually, lime rock is bad for Formula One tracks because it polishes smooth and loses grip, but Miami's lime rock has a high silica content, meaning its texture is like mini shards of glass. As the lime rock breaks down, it exposes more of this silica, meaning it stays rough and grippy. Well, so they thought anyway, but as we saw in 2022, this wasn't exactly the case, but we'll come back to that. Local teams built the basic layers of the track, but experts from...
Sorry, chat. I was like actually kind of intrigued. I have a very like deep love for Formula One. And so this video is very intriguing. And then since I go to Miami like a good amount, like I go to Miami a lot. So to see like something that I drive by all the time being built and something that I like, so I'm kind of just like being informed for...
Berg Construction came in for the final surface layer. They used a method called echelon paving, where they lay the asphalt with multiple machines side by side, meaning the lanes would fuse together whilst hot, making the surface stronger. Overall, 24,000 tons of asphalt was used. If you watched the inaugural Miami Grand Prix in 2022, you'll know that they came under fire for the fake marina that they created at turns 6, 7 and 8. They did this by placing 10 yachts on a vinyl floor designed to look like water. Creating it isn't as simple as you may think. They had to find transportation vendors with specialist equipment and knowledge to remove the boats from water, make them road legal, which requires modification of the boat itself, and then stage them on the vinyl floor.
You have
There
to
aren't
make a
many
boat street
companies who
legal?
can carry out this bespoke task. Aside from the physical construction, there was a lot of cosmetic work required. They wanted a theme to flow throughout the whole complex and to combine the F1 experience with the stadium, which is why they opted to use the signature aqua colour wherever possible. They had 30 different renderings of the runoff area before settling on a design which mimics the shadow of a palm tree. In the final few weeks leading up to the first race, a team painted the concrete barriers to display the current set of sponsors. In total, 3,100 gallons of paint was used. There were periods where the track was being worked on almost 24 hours a day so that it was ready for its first race, which they successfully did.
I'm not gonna
But as
lie,
I've
I'm gonna go
alluded
back
to
and watch that
multiple
after I
times
get off
throughout
the
this
stream.
video, there were no shortages of complaints from fans and drivers alike for multiple different reasons. So what did they change? The Miami F1 track goes through changes every year, even without intentional improvements. That's because most of the facilities, such as the grandstands and safety barriers, are temporary, so they are dismantled and put into storage for the following year. The organisers of the Miami Grand Prix, however, made a multitude of changes to improve the race weekend, and these changes weren't just aimed at the racing itself. They moved the paddock inside the Hard Rock Stadium, creating what they labelled as a team village,
where it is?
allowing them to have expanded
That's hard.
hospitality spaces. They also gave access to fans who bought a campus pass to level 300 of the Hard Rock Stadium, meaning they can look directly into this village. They added 3,000 new grandstand seats, installed more water refill stations, and created shaded areas for fans to escape the Miami sun.
To go
They
to
even
this
created
Grand
different
Prix.
versions of the circuit to host multiple racing events throughout the year to expand into other motorsports. But without a doubt, one of the biggest criticisms of hosting Formula 1 in Miami was the road surface. The drivers claimed the grip was so low that it felt like driving on intermediate tyres despite it being dry. On top of this, the track layout didn't really promote many overtaking opportunities, so Tilker engineers were commissioned to oversee a repaving of the whole track. This didn't involve physical track changes, however, like removing the slow chicane which Lewis Hamilton compared to a B&Q car park. Despite this, the 2023 race was clearly an improvement as there were more on-track overtakes and the drivers, while not saying it's perfect, expressed more positive feelings about the racing than they did in 2022. I think it's fair to say the Miami Grand Prix organisers have achieved their goal of being bold and different. Not every decision they made paid off, but you've got to give them credit
Miami's one of my
for
favorite
constantly
tracks, bro.
wanting to improve. Thank you to my members on screen now who saw this video early.
And YouTube, we're gonna leave that one here. If you enjoyed, go ahead, like, comment, subscribe. Everything is in the description. Twitch, Instagram, TikTok, all the other YouTube channels. You know the deal, you know the drill. Anyway, I will see y'all in the next one. Peace.